there. Welcome to The Hash. It's me, Zach Seward. I'm joined by Anna Baitakova and Jen Sanasi. We're going to talk about crypto stuff today. It's going to be good times. Is everyone ready? Because Anna is going to lead us off with some news from Jack Dorsey. What's happening?
Yeah, always some fun news from Jack Dorsey. And this time he announced a fund that will help Bitcoin developers defend themselves in court if they're sued. Dorsey proposed this fund together with Chain Code Labs co-founder Alex Morkos and Martin White, who is an academic, who is a researcher. The fund will be called Bitcoin Legal Defense Fund Board. And it will help Bitcoin developers to seek defense in court if they need some help, for example, finding good lawyers and paying them. And the reason this fund actually came into life, the main reason is, of course, Craig Wright, the man who says he's Satoshi Nakamoto, the founder of Bitcoin, who says he's the founder of Bitcoin, who is also the founder of Bitcoin Cash fork, Bitcoin SV, and who is infamous for suing people in the cryptoverse for all possible reasons. And the last two cases were him suing people for hosting the Bitcoin white paper, which Craig Wright says he has intellectual rights for, and for suing Bitcoin developers to give him access to two Bitcoin wallets who Craig Wright says he owns, but lost access to due to the hack. So there is too much to unpack actually in this news. But what do you guys think? It's kind of a good idea of community coordination and like coordinated defense. Because Bitcoin community is decentralized, but you obviously need to join forces when something like that comes up. What do you think, Zach?
I think it's really crazy to see, right? I mean, I think it's often forgotten that like Bitcoin core development is this open source thing by a relatively small number of people who are supporting the technical backbone of a really big, all of a sudden, asset class. I should probably look up the exact number. I don't know. It's over $1 trillion. Is it 2 trillion? I don't know, but it's a really big thing.
A lot.
And so we're seeing like, open source legal defense funds springing up with some big name backers. I think that makes a ton of sense, right? This is something that has come up. Open source development is sponsored by companies and other prominent individuals in the space. And those open source developers often need legal resources, and they too are going to be sponsored by entities and prominent individuals in the space. So it's kind of interesting and in keeping with the Bitcoin development ethos that this is how the legal apparatus of the Bitcoin developer class is shaping up. So I think it's interesting to see. It's always fun to see like Jack Dorsey writing on this mailing list that has like really funny like font and like looks like the 1990s. I always think that's kind of cool and like cypherpunky. So it's fun to see that come out. And this piece absolutely, hits the nail on the head when it comes to the context in which stuff like this is needed. So interesting to see, and interesting to see Jack, get his Bitcoin cred, his Bitcoin bona fides. Really, another one for him there. So I'm going to toss it to Jen for your thoughts. But yeah, what are you thinking on the legal side?
Yeah, I mean, Jack Dorsey is really targeting the industry from every angle, and it's really cool, right? It was becoming more and more evident that he's a Bitcoin maxi, and now he's just all in on his vision for the future. So I want to talk about how the decisions are going to be made in this fund. So the board is going to decide which cases to support when it comes to providing legal help or money. And so I really hope that when they're building this board, that they're focusing on the diversity of the board. I would hate to see bias come through on a project that is so good for the industry. So I am waiting to see who gets appointed to the board, who has control of the funds, and who has access to this legal help. So I'm excited to just wait and see how this unfolds. But Anna, I'll pass back to you to wrap us up.
Yeah, I think, as Zach said, it's very, actually, I need to give it to Jack. What he's doing is usually very in tune with the Bitcoin ethos and the whole spirit of the movement. But it's always when it's even when it's decentralized, and especially when it's decentralized and like community based, it's always up to people how it works, how it functions. So yeah, gonna see who's gonna provide funds for this fund, how it gonna work, and if it will actually help Bitcoin developers in actual court cases. So a lot to see here, and maybe from that we can switch to a less decentralized, outright centralized news.
Zach has I saw Zach open his mouth and then quickly close it.
In the 3 box, you really got to get your hands like up to your face. I was like over here. Nobody can see that. Nobody can see it. Anyway.
Sorry, Zach.
All right, here it is. I'm calling it. All right, I'm calling for the next one. And the interesting thing is, like, support Bitcoin core developers. People need to put up some checks to make this happen. And I think, like, if that happens, great. Also support Bitcoin core developers when they need legal funding. So, all you rich Bitcoin people who made a ton of money, go sign some checks, people. Come on, make some contributions.
Sign the checks.
100%.
Sign the checks and or send the stable coins. Let's go. Make it happen. All right, Jen, take it away.
Send the money. All right. Okay, so some interesting DeFi news here. Credit reporting firm Transunion announced that they are letting consumers give crypto lenders access to personal credit data. The offering is being facilitated through security firm Spring Labs' digital passport, and credit data will be available on public blockchain networks via this passport. So an interesting development, I think, for DeFi lending. We always talk about this space being completely accessible, especially accessible to people who maybe haven't had the opportunity to build up these credit scores. And now Transunion, a company that's made a business off of creating these scores and providing this data to centralized financial firms, is entering the DeFi space. So I thought there's a little bit of a juxtaposition, but an interesting development. And I'm going to pass it off to you first for your thoughts. What do you think?
Well, I'm a bit confused. Like the whole notion of DeFi is kind of, nobody needs to know your credit history to give you a loan, right? Because you either have a collateral in a form of your crypto. I mean, in a sense, that's one thing. Like you have your loan over collateralized by the crypto you own, and you just lose your holdings if you default by the loan. And here there is a totally different principle at work. So,
yeah, that's exactly it. So the idea that was outlined in the article and the press release is that now people may not have to put up that collateral to receive a DeFi loan, which feels like maybe Transunion is stretching. I understand, they're probably looking at this and looking at how they can participate given the business they've built around creating this credit data. But yeah, it does seem like a little bit of a stretch. What's interesting, though, is this partnership with Spring Labs that is allowing people to share their credit data on chain in a completely private way. Zach, I don't know if you read this article or did some digging into it earlier on, but like, what do you think of that feature?
I don't know. I think I'm with Anna on this one. Like, providing credit and identity data on chain. That's whack as hell.
Idea behind this product. But yeah.
I will say that the drumbeat of institutional DeFi is just getting really loud lately, right? And I think these banks are seeing DeFi. They're seeing all these crazy APYs that you would never see in the real world, like APYs that sound too good to be true, but are actually true, depending on how you look at the tokenomics. So they're saying, like, well, I want to park my assets in DeFi. I want like 8% yield. I want these. I want my dollars to be doing something for me. And if it means going on, Aave Arc, which is the institutional whitelisted DeFi platform from a major lender in the space, then yeah. So I think we're going to see more and more of this sort of awkward and odd bedfellows moments around DeFi and traditional financial institutions, because there's money to be made. And that's what these firms full of people care about. There's money to be made in DeFi. They say, hey, why can't I get on this too? If it means that I have to provide identity and credit history through some on-chain mechanism so that I can play in these markets and make that money, so be it. I don't care about what DeFi is supposed to have meant. I just care about getting APY that I wouldn't otherwise be able to get. So I think we're going to see more and more of these weird stories that don't make any sense to what DeFi set out to do, but do make sense as institutional DeFi becomes an actual thing that big firms are going to want to dabble in. So I don't know. That's my take. I'm going to kick it back to you, Jen.
Yeah, I just want to drive it home. I wish Naomi was here because she says this so often. These DeFi products really benefit people who weren't able to build a credit history. And that's not always people who can't afford a loan. And so if anyone has ever lived in a country that is not the country that they were born and raised in, it's really hard to get access to credit products, right? And DeFi solves this by, I can put my crypto up as collateral and I can get a mortgage, or I can get a credit product that I previously didn't have access to. But Zach, do you have a thought to add to that? Or
yeah, so flip side, devil's advocate, like over collateralized lending kind of sucks and is anachronistic relative to the other lending market, right? Like the fact that you have to have some ratio 3-to-1 of existing crypto bags to get loans out of here. That's it's a big impediment to DeFi lending, right? That's not how it works in the real world. Like typically, there are other ways that you can get someone to give you money based on their willingness to believe that you're going to pay them back, right? DeFi is great because it codifies a whole system that doesn't rely on that, which is cool, but it does rely on you having existing crypto bags that you can put up as collateral so that they can be taken should the smart contracts identify you as being in default on your loans. So that is the flip side of that. And maybe in some future state, like under collateralized or no collateralized lending, would be cool in DeFi. And maybe that's the nut that they're trying to crack, but it certainly comes with some trade-offs on the big picture stuff. Anna, what are your last thoughts on this one?
I just think that over collateralized lending is fine because probably you should be a hodler before you're a player in this field. That's how I'm gonna wrap it up.
That's true. All right, I'm gonna take us to football. I'm gonna take us to the CoinDesk Sports Desk. It has been a hot minute, I feel. We haven't been to the Sports Desk in a while. Welcome to the Sports Desk, Anna. We talk about sports and crypto stuff. For a while there, we were talking about it every single day. Now we're gonna talk about it again, and that's sweet. All right, the fan-controlled football league, which has been around for a number of years now. There was something like 4 teams or something. It's kind of small, little scrappy outfit that lets fans vote on how these teams are managed and what plays they run and all sorts of stuff. They realized, hey, crypto fixes this. Crypto is a really good mechanism for us to be able to be governed by a body of passionate fans who care about this weird sort of fringe football league. And so they said, hey, we're raising a bunch of money from Animoca Brands and Delphi Digital, $40 million to be exact. We're going to get tokens in the hands of some of these people, and we're going to get some NFTs out there, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a way that we can sort of govern this DAO, this football DAO, basically. So some of these details are still TBD. They're starting with NFTs as sort of the gateway to some of these other products down the line, but it really is sort of a crypto reboot for this football league that sort of relies on former NFL stars like Marshawn Lynch and others to bring some excitement to real life fantasy football or something like that. There's all sorts of weird stuff in this. Like the Bored Ape Yacht Club is going to be a team, and there's this other Steve Aoki.
I thought they own
thing.
2 teams.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. There's all this stuff that is crypto and is happening in the fan-controlled football league. So I'm going to throw it to Jen for her thoughts. I don't know. I think it kind of makes sense in this instance that they would be using this to kind of govern these decisions. But then again, I could be totally off base here. So curious for your thoughts.
I mean, I could also be totally off base, but I think it makes sense too. And I think it's so cool. I've never heard of the fan-controlled football league until now. Bored Ape Yacht Club, I believe they're going to own 2 teams, like you said, Zach. And this reminded me, so there's a trending story on Twitter this morning. and it's a basketball story from Toronto. So at the last Raptors game, Devin Booker requested that the Raptor, our mascot, be moved because he was distracting. And this was a massive story. But imagine if, as a fan, you could vote with your token to move that Raptor around and maybe troll the teams that you don't like, or have a say in what's going on, not only in the game, but in the stadium. I think that would be really interesting. I mean, I know we talk so much about crypto and sports on this show, and the sports audience really adopting crypto maybe a little bit faster than any other mainstream audience. And I think this is just the perfect combination. And I really hope that we see more fan engagement in this way in sports as we move forward. I think it's just kind of the next generation of engagement, and it's very cool. But Zach, I'll pass it back to you.
I just wanted to make a joke about Drake being the actual Raptors mascot. So when you said like the Raptors mascot, I thought maybe you were talking about like that's what you locals up there call Drake, which is kind of cool. But moment passed on that joke, so I got nothing more to say.
Yeah.
Anna, pick me up. What do you got?
Well, I think that actually gaming is kind of an ideal sandbox, like ideal playground for this kind of technology, because on one hand, stakes are not that high that we're talking about, people's actual livelihood and their everyday lives, but they are high enough for people to care, because, people engaged in this stuff are really passionate about it. They care a lot about them, and they want it work, that they want it work properly. So, for NFTs, for any kind of decentralized trading and decentralized governance, I think it's a very good chance, to kind of play around with these technologies and see what's working in this purely virtual area of gaming. And maybe some of it will turn out so good that you can safely take it to the real world. And that's what's really cool. And that's, that's partly, I never paid attention to gaming, but in this case, I think everybody should.
All right, I'm going to use this as a segue opportunity. I'm shutting the show down right now, and I'm going to segue into something that I'm kind of pumped about. We have a new show debuting with a sports guy who has been doing crypto for a long time, and that's Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie and Solo Cisse are hosting a new show on CoinDesk called New Money, and it debuts today at 1 p.m. Eastern. So you should check that out. Woo-hoo. All the previews have been looking really cool. So yeah, check it out. New Money with Spencer Dinwiddie and Solo Cisse, debuting on CoinDesk TV in less than an hour. 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm definitely tuning in. All right, check it out. Thanks so much. I'm Zach. We have Anna. We have Jen. This is The Hash. We'll be back tomorrow. And we're just glad you're here. So thanks for being with us. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Bye.